What is up, guys? Welcome to One Take. In this episode, I'm going to talk about the one thing that almost all entrepreneurs, almost all extraordinary people have in common. And it's something that you might not think, and it's something that you really can't work for. So, let's get to it. There's one thing that you can't really work for that all entrepreneurs and pretty much all extraordinary people have in common is the fact that they thought differently. Something came into their lives that made them think not of the norm. Obviously, we all know that we are pretty much taught to do the same exact thing in the same exact way through the schooling system, through our parents, through whomever. But here's the difference between somebody that's extraordinary, somebody that lives extraordinary, and somebody that lives ordinary. First, I want to say that the ordinary life is something of which you should never feel ashamed of. But if you are watching this to try to get kind of a mindset to live an extraordinary type of life or a different type of life, I'm not even saying extraordinary, but a different type of life, a life where you work for yourself and not for other people, then you have to have this one thought. And I'm about to give it to you. The one thought is that you don't need to live like everyone else. And this is why I consider myself lucky, because that thought, like I said, it can't really be worked for. That thought was brought into my life by one of my best friends. And I'm so grateful for that, because I could have obviously just lived my life how everyone else lives their life, which is fine for some people, but I didn't want to live like that. So this person, my business partner Dan, he brought this new perspective into my life, just showing me how you can live for yourself, you can grow a business for yourself, and I'm so grateful for that. And you have to realize, like, this is why you should never look down on people that work 9 to 5s. You should never work down on people that work for other people, and it's because this mindset does not come naturally. It just doesn't. And like, whether you want to, like, doesn't matter who you think of. Think of Mark Zuckerberg, think of Bill Gates, think of all these people. They had an open enough mind to realize they wanted to do something different. They wanted to do something special. And like I said, like, you can't work for the first part, right? The very first part is having that open mind in order to think that you want to do something different. So like I said, you can't work for that. You can't work, like, you can't just sit here and think as hard as you want and try to get that mindset, because you wouldn't even have started thinking in the first place if you didn't already have that mindset. So that's my point. Like, if you are watching this and if you don't already have that mindset, just realize that if you want to live a different way, you can live a different way. If you want to not go the 9 to 5 route, you don't need to go the 9 to 5 route. Yeah, it's going to take a lot of effort at the beginning. And I say this all the time. Right after college, I got a corporate job in IT, and it would have been so much. Those 2 years would have been like those 2 years where it took me to, like, really learn eBay and really learn drop shipping and really build my business. It would have been so much easier if I had just stuck with my 9 to 5 job. I would have had more money. I would have had even more time. I would have had a lot, just more. But the thing is, putting in 2 years of effort for me was completely worth the payoff after that. Obviously, I mean, not everyone's going to succeed, but I mean, isn't it worth it? It's worth the risk. So, and that actually brings me to another point. Risk. So if you're young, like if you're in your 20s, I've said so many times that, like, you can just fuck off your whole entire 20s and it doesn't even matter, because by the time you're 40, your life's pretty much going to be where it is. Um, Gary Vee, let's talk about Gary Vee for a second. Amazing person. He loves the process. He loves working. He loves the grind. But the one thing he says to himself, like, if he could give himself a critique for when he was younger, because he said that he had no free time when he was in his 20s. He spent every single second of his 20s doing something to either help his family business, help himself. He did absolutely nothing. He was talking to this person, this girl, and he was like, "What did you do last weekend?" And she said, well, I helped my parents, whatever. But then he said, like, "Did you have free time this weekend?" And she goes, "Yeah, I had some free time." And he goes, "Think of it this way. Just this weekend used more time that you had for free time doing whatever you want than I did in my whole entire 20s. And then he says that, like, if he could go back, like, he wouldn't do it that way. And I completely agree that in your 20s, you can do whatever you want, and you'll pretty much be in the same predicament when you're in your 40s. I mean, if you get everything figured out, like, by the time you're 30, and you get a job that you wanted by the time you're 30, that extra, that extra 5-6 years that you would have been working there in your 20s isn't really going to matter by the time you hit 30, by the time you hit 40. So this all comes back to risk. You can take risks in your 20s. You can take a lot of risks in your 20s, and people don't think that way either. But you can literally fail every single risk that you take. You could fail for a decade. Even more than a decade. But it only takes one success to bring you from, a 9-to-5 job that you might not want to being an entrepreneur, to being extraordinary, to being a business owner, to employing other people instead of being employed. So let me just make this crystal clear. If you are in your 20s, you should be trying everything. There is a quote that says, a dog that chases 2 rabbits catches neither. So I'm not saying, like, do different things all at once, but I am saying try something. If it works out, great. If you see progress, great. But realize when progress stops. Realize when this just isn't working. You have to be completely honest with yourself, and realize when it's a failure. Try something else, then try something else, then try something else. Keep trying. Give it a fair shot. I'm not saying give up right away. Give it a fair shot, but if you don't want that 9-to-5, keep trying and trying and trying and trying and trying. You have so much time. Like, I'm 26. It took me, actually, I just turned 27. I'm 27. It took me a year or two to really get to where I wanted to be in my business. And I realized that I could actually, if I think about it, I didn't even, like, have this exact mindset, but I did act as if I had this mindset. I didn't actually put it into words. But when I was in my, like, early 20s, after I was done with college, I literally lived at my girlfriend's mom's house, my girlfriend's mom and her mother's house. And just think about that for a second. Like, I was pretty much homeless. I got kicked out of my house. I was pretty much homeless for well over a year. So, like, I kind of did, like, I didn't, like, F off in my 20s, but don't get me wrong, like, I didn't think that I needed to have everything figured out right away. So after I quit the corporate job that I had, like I said, I was pretty much homeless. I lived with my girlfriend, who was living with her mom, and so that's how that worked out. But my point is like 2 years later, now I'm living a stone throw from the beach in Miami. But the thing is, so much can happen so quickly. So if you are young, take risks. Fuck off if you want. If you want to travel the world, travel the world. If you want to try to grow businesses, then try to grow businesses. I'm not even saying you need to do that. You can literally just go travel if you want. If you wanted to, I mean, people don't realize this, but the United States really is an expensive place to live. You can go rent, like, villas in Bali and stuff like that during the off season for so much cheaper than rent would be here, and it's such a nicer place. So you really can, like, if you wanted to work your ass off for the summer, save up money, and then just go travel for the rest of the year, then do that. Like, just do what you want in your 20s. Take risks in your 20s. Live, have experiences in your 20s. As long as it doesn't hurt yourself or other people, then who gives a shit? So let me just recap real quick. 1, never look down on somebody that's living a 9-to-5 life. Never look down on somebody that you don't deem is extraordinary life, because first of all, they may like that life. Like, my girlfriend is someone that she likes going to work. So, I mean, she has a 9-to-5 and she likes it. She would go stir crazy if she didn't have that kind of organization or that kind of direction in her life. Me, on the other hand, I look at it like, oh my gosh, I couldn't even stand it. I'd go insane. I would go insane doing her life. My point is, everyone wants to live different lives. But my second point is that most people don't even have the thought. Most people don't even have the thought to live a different life. And that is what I am mostly trying to point out here. it's like I said, it's not anything that you can work for. You can start your work. You can start working extremely hard after you have that thought. After it clicks, oh man, I want to run my own business. After it clicks, oh man, what I was taught in school isn't the only direction. And the third thing, if you are in your 20s, you need to realize that you can screw up. You can go have fun. You can literally try so many things in your 20s until something works out for you. So, get to it.